What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie Nicole and today we are going to talk about everything postpartum. Right after I gave birth, there was so many things that I really wish I knew because postpartum is a really heavy load that nobody prepares you for. They just prepare you for a baby and then that's it. And like, what about mom afterwards? Like, you gotta heal. So we're gonna dig into that today. But before we get into our video, if this is your very first time ever clicking on my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification so you are notified every time I make an upload. All right, so before we get into the details, I had a vaginal delivery. If you have a C-section, some of these details may or may not vary for you. I don't know because I only had one baby and it was vaginally. So this is my experience. So just know there may be some more things or some things that I leave out that you may experience, but just make sure you talk to your provider and that way you can be as well prepared as you can be for postpartum. So we will get into my experience postpartum and go over these details that I listed out. I think most of them are pretty generic, so I hope this is really gonna help. So number one is major pressure. So congratulations, you don't have to feel any more contractions, which is amazing, but now you have pressure. And actually I should back up. Some people do still experience contractions because your uterus just had a baby in it, and now that you've delivered your baby, your uterus does have to contract back to its original size. So pretty much everybody experiences contractions afterwards. For my experience, I actually never felt them. There's probably just a whole lot of other things going on. So I don't really remember if I had those feelings about what it felt like. But as far as the pressure goes, it is going to be right down there, right in the same pinpoint that you gave birth at. So this pressure is going to be there when you sit, when you stand, when you walk, when you bend, when you sleep. It is there. So I remember right after, it was like I was in the hospital for a couple days, the nurses would actually come in and they would give me, I think they would just give me ice cubes and they'd stuff it into a newborn diaper, and then they would just tell me to put that in my underwear. So it was very cooling, and it really helped give you that sensation down there of numbing a little bit, as well as taking Advil. I ended up taking Advil for about 4 weeks. I remember I think I forgot to pick up my prescription or to get my prescription. I forget if I even had one, but when I got home I didn't have it, and I remember thinking I was gonna be okay, and I had to send Kenny to the store that night because your girl needed some right now, stat. I'm the kind of person where I don't like taking medicine unless I'm at the point of no return and it's the last resort. So that's how I really tried to maneuver through my postpartum, and that didn't last long in my case. I remember going to Fred Meyer, the grocery store across the street, and I didn't want to be those people just bedridden. I wanted to make sure I was still active. So I went to the store a few days after I gave birth, and I remember walking in the store just trying to take some, take my time, have a little bit of me time. And I remember halfway through the store, I was just getting really so much pressure that I had to stop, and I had to bend over, I had to get up, and then I just started I don't know if this wobble, what is this called? Waddling. So it was very hard, and I was dang it, I really wish I would have taken some Advil, even though when I left for the store I didn't feel like I needed it. So just make sure you have some on you. You never know. So the next part is super huge. This is probably the biggest thing I take away from postpartum recovery, is going to the bathroom. And I'm so mad at myself because I had all of the tools and the supplies that they send you home with, and I remember I was going to hold on to it because I really wanted to make a video for you guys, but when I had come home fresh after having a baby, I knew I wanted to do a YouTube channel, but I did not know it was going to happen so fast, so I just threw all those things away. So I'll try to add pictures to the screen to show you what I'm talking about. But when you go to the bathroom, just going pee is going to take you 20 minutes. And I am not exaggerating whatsoever. You can go ask anybody who's had a baby and how long it takes them to go pee. It is 20 minutes. First, before you even sit down, you have to take your peri bottle and you have to fill it up with water, and then you gotta make sure the water is just right. You know, it can't be too cold, can't be too hot. It's gotta be like a good room temperature, or just like a little bit cool. And then you walk to the toilet and you try to bend down and sit on the toilet. That might take you a couple seconds because, you know, getting into those positions is not the easiest thing at this moment. So once you sit down, take your peri bottle and you just work up the courage to pee. You take your peri bottle and you squirt downwards into that area where you're peeing. And if you don't have that bottle, you're gonna probably feel a burning sensation when you pee. So just make sure you keep that water on there consistently. And I like to, it's so weird to explain, but you can't use toilet paper. So you're using that water to help cool and give you relief from the burning, but then you're also using that water bottle to basically like wipe for you, if you know what I mean, clean you up. So that's what you do. And then after, you have to, what I did is I used to take like a little bit of toilet paper and you just dab, since you can't wipe, just to like dry yourself up a little bit. And then you take this cooling spray, and I think it's called Dermaplast. I will insert the picture right there. I really hope the pictures are gonna fit right here. So then you try to stand up and you're kind of squatting over the toilet now, and you have to take that and you have to turn the bottle upside down and give yourself like that mist of the cooling spray, and you just crank it up and down all over the place, okay? You're gonna want it everywhere. It has aloe in it and it's gonna give you some like numbing effect a little bit. And you'll feel instant satisfaction when you do it. You'll know what I mean when you get there. So go ahead and put that on a pretty generous layer. Next, you're going to take an adult diaper and you are going to put that bad boy on. And there are these witch hazel rounds, and the rounds are about that big, and you can line them up in your either pad or your adult diaper, or you can just kind of you know, pat the area, whatever you want to do. I didn't honestly use those too much, so at that point you'll just put on the diaper and you will be good to go. And then you'll probably go sit down and feel like you leaked all over the place again and need to go to the bathroom. So that's just going pee. All right, so I'm gonna briefly talk about going number 2. This is a very mental experience. When I tell you it's, okay, going number 2, you know you have to push, okay? Immediately when you think about pushing and having to push, your mind goes straight back to pushing out a baby. And I remember in my experience, thinking about having to go number 2 made me feel like I was just going to like rip my stitches and just like give birth. So it's not that bad. You know, they give you stool softeners if you need them. It took me like several days, and I just really had to like work up my mind power because it was very mental. And at the end of the day, when I look back, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I know that's like the number one thing women fear for after having a baby is, what is it gonna be like to go to the bathroom? So just know it's not as bad as you're working yourself up for. However, they do say, I've heard this quite a bit, and I think I do agree with it for sure, but if you did have a pain scale of where things landed, 1, 2, and 3, number 1 is contractions, number 2 is going poop, okay, and number 3 is pushing your baby out. I think this is true, but it's more so on the mental level. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but the fear of it was much worse. Like, that's how the order went, okay? But it's not, like, you'll survive, trust me. The next thing is pretty obvious, you're going to bleed. I mean, hence the diapers. So they do say it takes 6 weeks for your body to kind of heal and return back to somewhat a normal state. It takes about a year for your body to create a baby, and it honestly takes about a year for your body to absolutely go back to the way it was. But they say generally 6 weeks is kind of that like safety point where you can start doing things and feeling like yourself again. but you are going to bleed, and everybody's a little bit different. I forget how long they tell you is a normal amount to bleed. Definitely like that 6-week mark, I think, is where it's supposed to be like you're good to go for sure, which means it should be lightening up when you approach that 6 weeks. Me, on the other hand, I bled for 9 weeks, like heavy, and they did tell me if you bleed very heavy after like a certain point, I forget when it was, you need to call us, because you know it probably could be dangerous or whatever. And I kept thinking in my head, I would say, okay, it's pretty heavy. If it's heavy by the next 2 days, I'm gonna call them. And I never called them, and I just kept doing that, and I still never called them. But I felt good, I felt healthy, so yeah. Listen to your doctor, but this is what I did, and yeah, I had to wear those diapers for 9 weeks. And they were actually very comfortable, I'm just gonna say. All right, the next thing is when you lay down in certain positions, I felt like all of my bones in my hips and my back were breaking all at the exact same time. So it is very normal for your body to experience, like, you might feel like you just got hit by a bus because, you know, you kind of, I don't wanna say you did, but like your body, that's a lot for your body to go through. So yeah, your body is gonna respond. And I do know, like, sitting in certain positions, there are a lot of pregnant women I know have these like donuts that they sit on to kind of help relieve the pressure of like their spine and their hips and pelvis and everything. I never had one of those, so I'm not sure. I can't give you my review on it, but I do know that like when I would lay down, that's how I would feel, and I would just try to switch my position to make me feel a little bit more comfortable, or take some Advil. But even though all these things are normal, you do know your body, so if you feel like something is a little bit excessive or is kind of bringing up a red flag, make sure you connect with your doctor. All right, so the last thing I think that really sticks out to me that I remember experiencing was I would wake up in the morning and my body would just be covered in sweat. And I never sweat a lot. Like, I'd have to like go on a huge run, like on a nice hot sunny day, like for me to sweat. I'm not a big sweater, and so that was like something new for me. I would wake up and just feel sticky and wet, and like I needed to take a shower right then. And I forget how long I experienced it. I think it was probably only a couple weeks. And I do remember my friend had asked me, she had had a baby just a few days prior to me, and so I do remember talking to her about it, and she said she had the exact same thing happen. So of course I go to Dr. Google, and it said night sweats is normal postpartum. So, you know, I love Google, but she hated it at the same time. So yeah, that's probably the last big thing I experienced that I was not expecting. But that one's probably like the least bad out of everything that I listed. So, all right, so we made it to the end of my postpartum experience. My top 3 takeaways out of everything, if I was to do this all over again, these are my top 3 must-haves. Absolutely will not do this without these things. Is number 1 is adult diapers, okay? Number 2 was Advil. You gotta have those pain medications on hand. And number 3 would be the Dermoplast cooling spray when you go to the bathroom to give yourself that cooling relief. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope this gave you a little bit of guidance and insight into looking at what you may experience postpartum. You know, like I mentioned, it's when you get ready to have a baby, you're so looking forward to the baby, the delivery, you know, going to the hospital, what do you need to bring? When you take your baby home, what are the items you're gonna need to have? What are you gonna put in the diaper bag? Where's the baby gonna sleep? But you don't really think about postpartum recovery and how your body has to heal afterwards. So this is something that I feel like is very overlooked, and I remember just coming home and not realizing I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom for 20 to 30 minutes every single time I have to go to the bathroom. So looking back, it's like amazing, because I'm so happy I had Kenny with me, because me spending all that time in the bathroom, like, oh man, he was able to take care of Kalia for me, and I was able to like have my 20 to 30 minutes of peace trying to go to the bathroom, but also have that mental break from having a brand new newborn and trying to figure out what I'm doing. So yeah, I really hope that this video was helpful. Give me a thumbs up if you learned something today. Give me a thumbs up if there was something that I mentioned in this video that you did not consider or think about that you might need for postpartum. And go ahead and give me a comment down below if there was anything that I did not mention that you do want other new mamas to know of and maybe look up and look into, so that they can have a more enjoyable experience postpartum. Also, I'm working on a video about what I wish I knew about newborns. So this is right around the same time that you need this postpartum video, because you also have a newborn on your hands now. What are you gonna do? What do you need? There are so many things that I did not know that I wish I knew, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that video for you, so make sure you stay tuned and you look out for that. Don't forget that bell notification so you can be notified when I do upload it. All right, have a great week. Bye.